Hello, everyone. Mohammed Mukarram back again, first year medical student in Los Angeles, California. Let's get right into it. I just made the first video, so if you watched the first video, if you haven't watched it, this is literally 5 minutes in between. Let's get into it. This video is about how to get into medical school. I'm breaking it down very simply. The next video will be how to get into medical school with a low GPA. So I'm going to be telling you my story of how I got into medical school when I started off in undergrad with a low, bad GPA, D's and C's, had like an F in a class. I'm going to talk to you like just straight up, okay? There's no sugarcoating any of these videos. I don't even want these videos to go over 8 minutes if I can help it, all right? Like I said, I'm not doing this. All right, I don't need to get into that. Let's get into this video. How to get into medical school, all right? I don't have all that fancy equipment. This is it. All right. I don't know if maybe in the future, I don't know if this channel becomes successful, if you guys benefit, we'll have like a videographer or something, put the nice stuff up there. But for now, this is what you got. All right. This is my list and I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to explain it to you. All right. Number one for getting into medical school, the first thing you need, I don't even have it written down. The first thing you need if you want to go to medical school is you need ambition. You need ambition and you need drive to work hard. These two things, if you have ambition and a deep drive to be successful, you will be successful. Not only in medical school, but in life. Life, when it comes to this career stuff, the success stuff, yes, you can be blessed to have a family that has fortune or a family that has connections. That's great. But you can always go further in life if you have ambition for your life and if you have a drive and a hunger to be successful, like that hunger, like I want to be great. This is the mentality you need to have. All right, that's all of life. When it comes to being pre-med, you need to have that mentality. You better be locked in. All right, that's number one. It wasn't even on the list. It just came to me because that really is a number one. Be locked in. All right, be committed to the journey. Be committed to your success. Be committed to whatever lifestyle you want to have. You want to make sure you're comfortable, your family's comfortable, whatever it is, be locked in. All right, let's get to the real number one right on the list. Number one, your GPA. You already know. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Get as many good grades as possible. Get as many A's as possible. When admissions committee members, let's say, for example, this is your application, right? That's what I use to wipe my screen. Let's say this is your application, right? Mind you, I'm an admissions committee member. I've already read 1,000 of these today. Right? I'm exaggerating, but when I look at your transcript, I don't want to see alphabet soup, especially not towards the end of your undergraduate career, as you should be more mature and have a stronger grasp on your education and your academics, essentially. I want to see A's. Okay, so on your transcript, I want to see as many A's as possible. I want to see a good GPA. All right, let's break that down more. Listen, guys, if your GPA is not very good, that's okay. It happens. My GPA wasn't very good. My first 2 years of undergrad, I think my GPA was at 2.8. And I'll talk more about that in another video, right? But especially as you're nearing the end of your medical school career, your undergrad career, pre-med career, your third year, your junior, your senior, you want to start fixing those grades where now this semester, this quarter, this whatever you guys have, you want it to go from C, D, A, C to A, B, B, C, A, B to A, B, 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 A to A, maybe a B, A. That's what you want. Okay, guys, you want it to end because you want something called upward trend. Upward trend saves lives. Okay, having upward trend saves lives. Let's say, for example, you're like, oh, Mohammed, I already finished undergrad and my GPA was a 3.1, right? I think I had something similar, right? It's a 3.1 and I maybe finished, my last semester was 4.0. Okay, well, you need to do a post-bac and get more A's and be locked in and get more A's. Okay, so we'll get into that another time. Anyway, to get into med school, your GPA needs to be good. All right, try your best to have a good GPA. You can't be perfect all the time. A lot of the kids I know who had perfect GPAs typically lacked in other areas. And we'll get into those other areas later. But one area that isn't listed is they just lacked socially, like building connections with people. And you miss a lot of opportunities in life if you don't have the ability to build social relationships with people and have those relationships. So there's a balance. No one's expecting you to be perfect. Sometimes you're going to want to hang out with your friends. Sometimes you're going to want to go play ping pong or play basketball instead of studying when you should be, and your grade goes from a 95 to a 92, and now you're at an A minus. It happens. Okay, that's part of life. But try your best to get as many good grades as possible. Don't hurt yourself. Don't feel stressed. Don't feel depressed if you get a B plus. It happens, but we're just aiming for excellence. We're aiming for A's. All right, that's the first part. I'm gonna go quicker because I'm rambling too much. Next part, MCAT. GPA, MCAT. These are the two most important parts of your med school application initially. This is how you get in the door to get an interview. This is how you get in the door to qualify, to get past the medical school screens. All right. MCAT, for a lot of you all who are in undergrad, MCAT typically comes later. It comes in your junior year or your senior year. And so maybe right now it isn't as relevant for you. But the point is, eventually get a good MCAT score. And number one thing, only take the MCAT when you are ready to take the MCAT. If you're not scoring in a good scoring range, if you're not scoring in a range that you think will get you into med school, if it's too low, let's say, for example, the lowest score in the MCAT is a 472. Let's say you're getting a 485. You got a 485, 488, 488, 488 on your practice exams. Do not take the MCAT. I don't care if you wanted to apply this year, don't do it, because taking the MCAT because you're going to have to first of all, you're not going to get accepted to med school most times. So you're going to be a reapplicant. Being a reapplicant negatively affects your chances of getting into med school. Med school is very traditional. It isn't like, oh, we care about the whole person, we love you. I mean, they say that and they do care about the person, but you have to pass certain screens for them to start caring about all this extra stuff. Because why would I go for you when I could go for another student who did get those good grades and has a good personality and did the other things to get into med school? So you want to present yourself as the best version of yourself the first time around. Do not apply to med school if your MCAT is very low. Do not apply to med school if your MCAT is very low, and don't apply just to apply. Like some people say, I'm going to just see what happens. Don't do that. Med school isn't like college or whatever. Like when you apply to med school and you don't get in, you're listed as a reapplicant. And if you apply again, every school has you in their system as a reapplicant. You didn't get accepted anywhere the first time. All of that, unfortunately, it really taints your application. It's sad. It's just very like there's so many. It's so competitive. They're looking for ways to distinguish those they should take from those they shouldn't take. Okay, that's just my understanding. Okay, so that's MCAT. Comes later on in your process. Number 3, and this is subdivided into 3 subcategories: extracurricular activities. First one, clubs you're passionate about. All right, you don't need to be in 50-11 clubs. Okay, pick 2 clubs or 3 clubs. And it isn't about the number of clubs, it's about the longevity. What did you do in that club? Did you stay committed to that club? Did you provide any benefit in that club? Did you take any leadership in that club? Did the club start one way and you helped bring it to another way? All of that matters. And having 2 or 3 clubs that you're passionate about, even if it's 1 or 2 clubs that you're passionate about, that is something that you can draw from on your applications when you apply to med school, and you can draw from it in your interviews. When someone asks you a question, you should have, like, before your med school interviews, you should already have like 6 or 7 things that you could go to, where if they ask you about anything, like if they ask you something research related, what do you think about service? What do you think about policy and things like that? Which I didn't get a question like that, but some people did. I've had friends that got, like a friend at Harvard, she got that type of question. Other things like that. You should have about 6 or 7 like talking points or things that your brain, your neural connections automatically go to this thing, and you can somehow connect that answer to what they just asked you. You get what I'm saying? And that's a life experience. Oh, I went to Spain and I really enjoyed it. And one thing I noticed, people love to drink alcohol with their breakfast. I saw this, right? Like what, and somehow connect that to that person's question about global health. Okay, you get what I'm saying. So having life experiences, whether it be through a club, whether it be through these other extracurriculars I'm going to mention, any sort of life experiences, whether it be through just how you grew up, all these life experiences, number one, mature you as a person, and they give you insight into being a human, into being an adult. And having insight is one of the most beautiful things that you can have as a physician. When you're dealing with patients, like I'm your patient. We're just people, and I'm just coming and I'm talking to you. If you've had various experiences in life and you've sat down to expand your brain and you sat down to think about, this video is going way over 8 minutes, and you sat down to think about other things in life, then when I come to you, we can have a conversation. Because when I say something, when I say, oh, I'm a plumber, you've had experiences or you've come to a point in your life where you're just open-minded as a thinker, right? Because of your experiences in life. So now we can have a conversation about me being a plumber. Even if you know nothing about plumbing, you could just say, oh, how is that for you? How does that work? But if you're the type of person where you're only stuck in a certain lifestyle or a certain comfort, and you haven't expanded your brain and you haven't had experiences that have forced you to think differently and operate differently, then it's going to be hard for you to connect with your patients, because you don't have enough to like talk about with them, if that makes sense. It isn't about what they're talking about, but the ability to speak to someone and have a long conversation, carry a conversation, basically, right? Being able to carry. So all that really, really matters in medicine, because it helps build a rapport between people. So that sounds far away, but that process of being able to do that begins in undergrad with your extracurricular activities. So like I said, pick a club that you're passionate about. I have a friend, he goes to the #1 med school in the country, University of Chicago. He created a club. I went to Emory for undergrad. I probably should have mentioned that in the first video. But anyway, he created a club at Emory that was about sneakers, like a sneakerhead club, right? And he created that club, and that's what he was interested in. I think they did some community service stuff. I don't really remember. But my point is that he goes to the #1 med school in the country, University of Chicago, and stuff like that. He always liked sneakers. He always liked the culture, stuff like that. So whatever that may be for you. For me, I'm very passionate about mentorship. I have been since I was in high school and I was being mentored. So the program that I was mentored by, called SEED, in high school, when I got to Emory, because SEED was through Emory, when I got to Emory, like the SEED people knew me, and they're like, oh, Muhammad, we'd love for you to join. And I was like, of course. My second semester, I joined. I became the vice president of SEED, and I put my heart into it because I was so passionate, because I knew what it meant for me to connect with a student at Emory University, a prestigious university. And now for me to be a student at Emory University and now have the opportunity to connect with inner city high school students who have parents who have never been to college. Maybe they're the first person to graduate from high school, who've never been to a college campus, all these types of things. So I was passionate about it, and I did it for all of my college years. I did SEED. So that's something that I spoke about endlessly in my applications, in my essays, in my interviews. I always spoke about SEED. The other club that I did that I was very passionate about was the MSA, the Muslim Student Association at Emory. So I was a part of that club. I was in a philanthropy. I was the philanthropy chair. I did a lot of work with fundraising and things like that. And overall, I started off as a sophomore advisor, just a sophomore in the club. And over time, I worked my way, became the chief of staff, and I eventually won an award, the Lifetime Achievement Award for the MSA at my school. So, and these are things I had so many experiences and things that happened, learned about leadership, planning events, fundraising, raised thousands of dollars for this cause. All of that stuff is experience to talk about when you're applying to med school. Let's go back. Number one, the real number one, drive and ambition to be great. That's the first thing. All right, number one on the list, GPA, getting good grades. Number two, a strong MCAT, which comes later in the process. Number three, extracurricular activities. All right, we did part A. Now, for side note, for extracurricular activities, it'd be really good if you can do one that has a community service aspect to it, because you kind of knock out not only showing that you can be a part of clubs and be a leader and have interests, but you're also doing service. So it'd be good if you can kind of combine them. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you're just interested in the Japan club, and all you guys do is sit down and watch anime and talk about Japan, and that's okay. If you can talk about that, then do it and write about it. All right. Next, super important thing, clinical experiences. It's very simple. Clinical experiences are really important because number one, it exposes you to working in the hospital or working with patients or both. And it shows the admissions committee, or ADCOMs as we call them. It shows ADCOMs that you've had experience working with patients and you know what you're getting yourself into for the most part. So it shows that you know what you're getting yourself into. It shows that you're willing to work, because most clinical experience jobs require a lot of work and they don't pay well. So it shows that you're willing to put the work in to do what's necessary to achieve your goals. Clinical experiences are super important. I really put clinical experiences, like when it comes to extracurricular activities, clinical experiences are number one. So they're like a pseudo number 3 after GPA and MCAT. So for me, I was a patient transporter for 2 years. In the PACU, which is like the post anesthesia care unit. So basically people would have surgery and then I was their transporter. Once their nurse took care of them for 2 hours, I would take them up to their room where they would be staying in the hospital after surgery, or to their car if it was like outpatient surgery. And I had a lot of cool experiences, emergency experiences, cool things, talking to patients. I wrote a whole essay, like a mini essay about one particular experience. And in a future video, I'll explain to you guys how to write your activities descriptions and whatnot. I use the Dr. Ryan Gray method. So he's on YouTube. He's amazing. I'll explain to you guys how to tell stories. And that's the thing. All of these experiences, you want to get stories from them. So as you're doing activities, write it down somewhere so you can have stories to draw from when it's time to apply to medical school and write your essays. All right. Clinical experience. So like I said, patient transporter, EMT is a popular one. Scribe is popular. Phlebotomy, that's what I usually recommend my pre-med students, because like it's a good career too. So we'll talk about that another time. I'm going way too long right now. Next is research. You want to have research experiences. It is not absolutely necessary like everything else I mentioned, but research is a very, very nice cherry on top. If you can get research at your university, try to get some research. It doesn't have to be sciencey. It can be like sociology, for example. But the more sciencey, the better, typically. So try to get a research experience, at least a year, maybe 2 years of research. Try to get that. Most schools will let you get credit for your research as well. So research is pretty cool to get. How to get that? If you guys are interested, I'll do a future video on how to get research opportunities. I have a pretty cool, interesting story about how I got my first research opportunity in college. Last but not least, letters of recommendation. Letters of recommendation are an important part of your application for med school. This is something that you'll typically get towards the end of your undergrad career. And the benefit is that you'll get them from the people who observed you and advised you in the previous 3 sections that I just mentioned. Either your professors for MCAT, nothing really about that. So either your professors, which you need 2 professors for a letters of recommendation to get into med school, or the advisors for the clubs you're a part of, or advisors or someone you worked with, from a local community activity you did, if you're a volunteer for an organ like MedSurge, from your volunteer at your mosque or something like that, if you led some sort of initiative, someone who mentored you. Like my mentor was the chief of surgery at Grady Hospital in Atlanta, and he was my first ever mentor who exposed me to medicine in high school at 15 years old. And we've maintained, I just talked to him this week. Like we've kept our relationship for over 10 years. And he wrote my letter of recommendation for medical school, obviously. So whoever you know, your mentor, research mentor, if you did the other parts right, you should be able to get a letter of recommendation. And you need about 4 to 6 of those. I say 6 as a max just to have some variety, but you need at least 4 of those. So that's it, guys. This went way over 8 minutes, but I think it was a good video. I think I told you guys everything you needed. I can go into a deeper dive onto specific things like clinical experience, the difference between clinical experience and shadowing. There is a difference. Clinical experience is way more important than shadowing. Shadowing is cool, though. It's cute. Research. We'll get into that another time. Let me know what you think. I'm sorry that I'm talking so fast. I'm just trying to get it all out. But next video, we'll figure out what the next video is. Hope you benefited. Peace out. Let me go study. Yo, can I click the button?